Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is one that I have had looming over me ever since I started making videos and have been deliberately avoiding, and that is Euro games. The reason I've been avoiding Euro games specifically is because there are zealots on all sides of Euro games. There are people who only want to play Euro games, who never want to play Euro games, those who think that Euro games have to be very pure in what they have and can't have mechanic X. They must have mechanic Y, or any number of anything else in between. So what I wanted to do today was to talk about games that are generally accepted as Euro style and have been around for a decent amount of time, that have been accepted as Euro games and are good for starter games for people who either aren't familiar with the Euro style or who are just trying to get into gaming and want to see what this thing called a Euro game is all about. So that being said, I will say what I'm using as my basic definition of a Euro game are 3 major components. First and foremost, we have an economy. There has to be something that's limited in the game, whether that is a physical resource that you need in order to do something, a building type that there's only some number of, a number of spaces that you're trying to move into, something along those lines. You have to have something limited like that in an economic style. Secondly, typically you will have some kind of an area control mechanic or some kind of design aspect control mechanic where you have limited amount of space and you need to find the best way to fit your stuff in, and you have to find the best way to get from point A to point B or whatever it happens to be, something along those lines. Last but certainly not least is how you interact with your opponents. By and large, the Euro gaming genre does not have direct attacking. You don't directly say, "Bop, I hit you." Instead, you have what is often called the take that mechanic, or that is what is frequently seen, wherein you say, "I know that you want this particular card or this particular space. Even though it doesn't help me too much, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to help me, and so that means that I will take it instead of allowing you to get it." Like I said, that is going to be my personal definition, and I'll be talking about good quintessential starter games, but of course, I would like to hear what you guys have to say because I'm curious how the discussion can go. What do you consider a Euro game? What are your personal favorites? Please let me know anything and everything in the comments because I still want to hear it, and if I need to, I'll put on a hazmat suit in order to go in and take a look at the comments. But I'm super excited about it, and I do hope that you all enjoy it, and not only that, but have a great discussion on it. But with that, we're going to dive in with my number 5. At number 5, I've got Wingspan. In this case, I believe this is the newest release game on the list, but this has quickly become a favorite amongst many board game enthusiasts, and the idea is that you are playing as a bird enthusiast who's trying to attract birds into your particular habitat. You are working to get eggs so that they will hatch into birds. You are playing particular cards that represent actual bird types and all sorts of other different stuff like that. There's some great expansions that add more birds, and this is very much a Euro game in that you have limited food resources, you have limited egg resources, all of that sort of thing. That said, it's lower on the list simply because it's a little bit newer, and I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with it, but it's still a great game. I absolutely love it. Wingspan, my number 5. At number 4, I've got Concordia, or more recently Concordia Venus, the re-implementation that includes some of the expansion material. This is a classic Euro-style game that is famously not an attack style game, but you certainly can have that take that mechanic where you want to take a card that you know somebody else really needs. This is very much in the victory points, heavy planning, economic style of Euro games, and again is an absolute classic. It's a wonderful game. It's tremendously fun. You will always have a lot of variety every time that you play because you never quite know what cards are going to be able to come out and what you'll be able to purchase, what you'll be able to buy, how you'll be able to sell it, or any of those things. But fundamentally, Concordia Venus, a great example of a Euro style game, and my number 4. At number 3, I've got Power Grid. This is one of the first Euro games that I ever played when I started playing hobby games, where the idea is that you're buying power plants and trying to power houses. So there are a few main phases to the game where you are buying power plants, buying supplies to run your power plants, and placing homes on a map. So there are several different take that aspects to this game where you can hoard supplies, hoard materials, you can block off people from going to specific locations, all sorts of different stuff like that. I find it to be tremendously fun. A lot of people find it to be too simplistic as far as just a general game itself, but as a Euro game, this is a wonderful example of how you can play a Euro game, what you can do, and what a Euro game is. I absolutely love it. It's got some wonderful re-implementations in the first Sparks, as well as expansions with new maps and all sorts of other different stuff. But that said, just replace the money. Don't use the paper money. It sucks. All in all, Power Grid, my number 3. At number 2, I've got Puerto Rico, the Euro game that has been around for literally decades at this point, and still is a little bit iffy on the whole colonist ship thing. But that's beside the point. As far as Euro-style gaming, this is what really introduced the idea of role-picking in board games. In addition, this has the idea of a limited number of buildings and limited building space that you have, both for plantations as well as for physical buildings that allow you to do things. You have a worker placement aspect, you have the role picking aspect, you have an economy wherein you need to purchase new buildings and all sorts of different stuff. Again, it's victory point based, something that's very common for Euro games. And again, absolute classic just in terms of this is a Euro game. Just like with Power Grid though, don't play with the original money, replace it with something else. That said, wonderful game, highly recommend it. Puerto Rico, my number 2. At number 1, I've got Terraforming Mars, the game where my personal copy doesn't like to close because I've got 3D printed versions of a lot of the stuff, but that's beside the point. This is a wonderful Euro game that adds in things like engine building, asymmetric starting powers, and a lot of things along those lines. That said, you have very classic Euro mechanics. You've got victory point based winning, you've got card drafting, you've got, like I said, the engine building aspect is fairly classic. You've got tile placement and control. You've got the ability to take over certain locations, and on top of that, you have the science theme, which is what I personally really enjoy. Now, obviously, the theme fundamentally has nothing to do with it being a Euro game. That's just why I love it so much, because I love science. And relatively speaking, this is pretty accurate in terms of what we would have to do in order to make life viable on the planet Mars. It's a lot of fun. It's got some great expansions as well. Highly recommend it. It's a ton of fun. And again, you can get some great 3D printed stuff. You can get some great plastic replacements. Just like some of the other games though, don't use the base player boards. Make sure that you get something better because they suck. But either way, Terraforming Mars, my number 1. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite quintessential starter Euro games. Like I mentioned before, these are games that I feel are good as introductions to the Euro genre of board gaming because it is a huge thing and arguably the bedrock of what we know as the hobby board gaming niche, with things like Settlers of Catan, Puerto Rico, Power Grid, and all of these other ones being the original Euro-style games. Of course, I know there are others. Please don't chastise me. But that said, I do want to hear what you all have to say as always, and especially on this, because what makes a Euro game? What is a Euro game? What isn't a Euro game? Sometimes it's up for debate. Some people don't think it's up for debate. Let me know what your thoughts are. What are traits that you feel Euro games must have? What are traits that you feel games that make it not a Euro game decisively? Let me know it all in the comments. I want to hear it all. I want to have a great discussion on all of this, and I look forward to it so much. But that said, again, if you haven't done so already as well, please take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in a whole bunch of really fun ways. But once again, thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.